Good morning, everyone. Hello and welcome. My name is Jennifer Reed, and I'm the director of Bridgewater State University's Senior College. We're very excited to be here today with our partners, the Alzheimer's Association Massachusetts and New Hampshire chapter, for this important conversation today about emerging treatments for Alzheimer's. Oops. So I am grateful that you're here. I wanted to mention that Senior College is open and available and ready, and registration is ongoing. I hope that if you haven't registered, you will consider registering for Senior College. Classes actually starting today, February 2nd, and they're running all the way till the end of June. $85 single registration fee gets you as many classes as you like, making us the most affordable lifelong learning program in our region. In addition to the classes, you also get access to the wonderful amenities of our campus. So if you live local, you can come and visit our campus. You can go to our fitness center, you can visit the library, you can have access to technical help through our IT department. So there's a number of great benefits to being a member. We will offer in-person classes this semester, which we are so excited about. We'll have a few in-person classes, 4 here in Bridgewater, Massachusetts. We will have 4 at the Center for Active Living in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and we will have a couple courses over at BSU Attleboro. But we also have a very strong, robust online virtual course offerings with all sorts of new classes, new instructors, exciting content that's brand new. And of course, we've brought back some of our most popular courses. So I'll throw our website in the chat. And so if you're not a member or considering Senior College, I would encourage you to do that. As we all know, lifelong learning does help with brain health incredibly. So that's just something for us all to consider as we continue to try to have ourselves be healthy in that way. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Jennifer. Jennifer is from the Alzheimer's Association of Massachusetts and New Hampshire, and she will introduce herself along with our speaker today. Jennifer?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. As introduced, I'm Jennifer Hoadley. I'm with the Alzheimer's Association. I'm the regional manager for Southeastern Massachusetts. And in that role, I wear lots of different hats. A lot of it is outreach and helping to get education out into the community. So thank you very much to Bridgewater State University Senior College for hosting this program and getting the word out to all of you. One thing I'd like to mention is that we're always looking for different organizations to partner with to do things like this. So if you are part of an organization like a Rotary Club or a faith-based organization or anything in your community, and you think that this would be something, any of the programs that we offer might be something of interest, I will put my email in the chat so that if you want to reach out to talk more about that, there's no cost to host a program. Really, our goal is just to help get the word out to people about Alzheimer's and dementia, and help people to learn more about what resources are available, and be able to navigate that. So I will put my information in the chat function. We do ask that if you have questions throughout the program or even after, that you just use the chat function, and we'll do our best to address those questions. We did schedule this program for an hour. Typically, this program doesn't last a full hour. It's really going to depend on your questions. So you may get some time back at the end of this to do whatever you'd like, or you can email me and we can set up a program. We do have a lot of different programs. This particular program is talking about a new treatment that's available, but we do have programs that are, they vary for people who are living with dementia, caregivers, and also just kind of general audience programs just to learn more about dementia. So our presenter today is Lisa Waltz. She has been doing a lot of education programs, especially quite a bit during this pandemic, because we have moved to the online platform, and it's allowed her to really fill up her schedule with helping us out to educate the public. So Lisa, I'm going to turn this over to you, and thank you so much for doing this today.
Okay, well, thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, Jen, for hosting this. So my name is Lisa. I am a geriatric social worker and a certified dementia practitioner. And I was also once a caregiver for my mother.
Lisa, I'm so sorry to interrupt. You're just a little low on the volume, so I don't know if you can just project more or turn your volume up on your computer or whatever it might be.
Is this better?
Yeah.
No?
What does everyone else think? I mean, I can hear you, but you're just sound a little muted.
Muted? Hang on a second.
Try that. No, yeah, it was better with the earbuds. Sorry about that. I don't mean to derail you. I think as long as you're projecting, we can turn up our.
We're still having problems?
Oh, no, you sound great now. You sound perfect now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right, okay. And so I was once a caregiver as well. I do a lot of volunteer work for the Alzheimer's Association. It's an association that's near and dear to my heart. And so I'm happy to kind of bring this program to you today. I'm going to share my screen and you should see, I'm hoping, a PowerPoint. Yes? Yes? Okay, great.
Yes,
okay.
Great.
Okay. So today we're going to talk about the new advances in Alzheimer's treatment. And of course, in the news recently, there has been a lot of talk about Biogen's drug. And so we're going to provide you with some information about that, and also the other kind of treatments that are still available to treat symptoms of Alzheimer's. So after attending today's presentation, you'll be able to list the FDA-approved treatments for Alzheimer's, explain what the impact of aducanumab, which is called Aduhelm as a brand name, on amyloid plaques in the brain and the drug's potential benefits and side effects, how to find ways to access this treatment and other treatments, and we'll talk a little bit about the resources that are available through the Alzheimer's Association to help you with this and other things. So why do we need to talk about that, and why is this treatment so important? So today there are more than 6 million Americans, and that's just Americans, age 65 and older, who live with Alzheimer's dementias. There are over 11 million unpaid care persons for those with Alzheimer's or other dementias, which usually means it's a family member or friends, right? These are unpaid caregivers. On behalf of those impacted by Alzheimer's, the Alzheimer's Association welcomes and celebrates the FDA's accelerated approval of aducanumab. This is the first treatment approved for Alzheimer's disease since 2003, and the first to address the underlying biology of the disease. This accelerated approval could mean more time for individuals to actively participate in daily life, have sustained independence, and hold on to memories longer. We recognize this drug may work differently for everybody who takes it and may not work for some individuals. Therefore, we're going to encourage you who are interested in this to learn more about this treatment, to speak with your doctors, to kind of educate yourself more on this. But let's review the types of treatments currently on the market and why this new treatment is so different. So until now, the only treatments available helped some symptoms of Alzheimer's disease, but they did not treat or go after the underlying cause of the disease. Because each person experiences Alzheimer's differently, these treatments work in varying degrees and are not effective for everybody. So the treatments for symptoms are the following. Aricept, which sometimes you might hear as generic as donepezil, Exelon, which is rivastigmine, Razodine, which is galantamine, Namenda, which is memantine, and then a newer one called Namzaric, which is actually a mixture of Aricept and Namenda. And in 2021, Biogen came out with aducanumab, which is a brand name called Aduhelm. So this is the newest therapy in Alzheimer's treatment, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But first, we're going to talk about what the hallmarks of Alzheimer's are. So Alzheimer's is a complex disease, and the exact causes still aren't really fully understood. Researchers believe that there isn't a single cause. So Alzheimer's research targets potential causes of this disease, and there are two hallmarks that we do know about. One is called tau neurofibrillary tangles, and the other is called beta amyloid protein plaques. So the tau protein helps keep the brain cell healthy and allows for nutrients and other essential supplies to move throughout cells. For some people, the tau becomes twisted, and it causes what we call tangles, and they build up inside the cell. So that in the area where the tangles are forming, nutrients and other essential supplies can no longer move through the cells, and these cells will eventually die. Researchers are studying the second hallmark, amyloid plaques, and the role of the amyloid plaques on Alzheimer's dementia. So beta amyloid is a protein that is naturally produced in everybody's brain, but scientists think something abnormal starts to happen with the amyloid in the brains of people living with Alzheimer's. When pieces of beta amyloid clump together, amyloid plaques form. Many researchers believe that these small clumps of beta amyloid plaques may contribute to the cell death and tissue loss observed in the brains of individuals with Alzheimer's. Ultimately, the brain cells are destroyed, and it eventually impacts a person's ability to function. So, aducanumab was granted accelerated approval by the FDA on June 7th, 2021. It is the first treatment that addresses the underlying biology of Alzheimer's. It targets and reduces amyloid plaques in the brains of individuals living with Alzheimer's, which is reasonably likely to lead to a reduction in the clinical decline. This treatment is appropriate for only certain types of people. You must have an evidence of a buildup of amyloid plaques in the brain, and you must have mild cognitive impairment due to Alzheimer's disease or be living with what we call mild or early stage Alzheimer's dementia. This new treatment is pivotal, but perhaps not a cure. This is the first of a number of new treatments that we hope will come. According to the FDA, this reduction in amyloid plaques, one of the hallmarks found in the brains of individuals with Alzheimer's, is reasonably likely to lead to a reduction in clinical decline. By that we mean the ability to think, to remember, and also a reduction in functional decline, in which we really mean by kind of your activities of daily living. Can you maintain your independence in a home? This could be more time for individuals to actively participate in daily life, have sustained independence, and hold on to memories longer. An individual's response to aducanumab will vary. Therefore, we encourage people who are interested in learning more about this treatment, for yourself or for a loved one, to have a conversation with their healthcare provider. While all drugs have side effects, in clinical trials, the most common serious side effects for Aduhelm were something called amyloid-related imaging abnormalities, or what we call ARIA, headache, and falls. So amyloid-related imaging abnormalities is a common but manageable side effect that does not usually cause any symptoms, but it can be serious. It is typically a temporary swelling in areas of the brain that usually resolves over time. Some people may also have small spots of bleeding in or on the surface of the brain. And so patients should be monitored for ARIA before and during treatment with MRI scans. It is important to have a conversation with your doctor to learn about these potential side effects. And so you can make an informed decision to determine if this treatment is an option for you or a loved one. So Aduhelm is administered intravenously by IV infusion every 4 weeks. Each treatment is expected to last 45 to 60 minutes. Now, while we do not yet have information on specific locations, in general, infusions are usually done at hospitals or infusion therapy centers. It is unclear how many doses an individual will need to take over time. The clinical trial tested this drug over the course of 18 months, and some of them were treated for longer than that. As part of the treatment and monitoring for side effects, MRI scans are required by the FDA prior to initiating treatment and prior to the 7th and 12th treatment infusions. So who's a potential candidate for this? The FDA has specified that the treatment should be initiated with individuals in the Alzheimer's disease stage that was studied in the clinical trials. And that was with people who had mild cognitive impairment or a diagnosis of MCI due to Alzheimer's or mild or early stage Alzheimer's dementia. There must be an evidence of a buildup of amyloid plaques in the brain. And that must be done through a test like a cerebral spinal fluid analysis or an amyloid PET scan. So that should be part of the diagnostic process to determine eligibility for this treatment. Aducanumab is not approved for other stages of dementia or other types of dementia. So how would you get treatment? So now that the treatment is approved, we are hoping that nationwide distribution and implementation will happen, but it will take some time. If you have a diagnosis of MCI due to Alzheimer's or early stage Alzheimer's dementia, talk to your doctor to determine if you are a candidate for this treatment and to discuss all treatment options. Your primary care physician may not be able to prescribe this treatment, but he or she can provide a preliminary assessment and will probably refer you to a specialist to determine if this is an appropriate course of action. To ensure access, the Alzheimer's Association is calling on CMS to expand the availability of dementia care services under Medicare. And the Alzheimer's Association has elevated the conversation about Alzheimer's and other dementias through education and public awareness campaigns focused on early symptoms of cognitive decline and the importance of an early and accurate diagnosis. If you don't have a diagnosis, but are concerned about you or a loved one, there are things that you can do. Because there is this kind of new drug on the market, it's even more important than ever that early detection and diagnosis is critical to making sure that you have access to treatment. If you do not have a diagnosis, learn about the 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's disease. And you can do that by visiting the website alz.org, where they have many online education programs. You can read about it there. You can also call the 24/7 helpline at 800-272-3900. Visit your doctor and share your concerns, specifically about your memory changes. Get a diagnosis. And most often, you will be referred to a specialist to determine appropriate treatment. Early diagnosis can also allow caregivers and the person living with the disease to better manage medications, build a care team, receive counseling and other supportive services, create advanced directives, and address driving and safety concerns. So the coverage for the cost of this treatment has been changing over time. We know that it started out at $56,000 a year and has now been reduced by about half. But at this time, we do not know what the insurance coverage will be for aducanumab or how Medicare is going to cover this. The Alzheimer's Association will do everything in its power to ensure access to this drug. Any tests needed during the treatment process and other associated costs, including anything that is diagnostic. If you need help with this or anything else associated with Alzheimer's or any other form of dementia, please reach out to the Alzheimer's Association. They have many, many resources. If you or a loved one are experiencing memory changes, the Alzheimer's Association strongly encourages speaking with a doctor for a thorough evaluation, diagnosis, and to discuss treatment options. You can call the 24/7 helpline at 800-272-3900, which can help with information, care consultation. They do multiple languages, over 200 languages. Alzheimers.org, alz.org has a vast repertoire of information and education programs for every stage of the disease in multiple languages. How do you find resources in your area, which is in the Community Resource Finder. So it's a kind of a one-stop shop for anything about Alzheimer's and other dementias, and there's a lot of great information up there. There are education programs that are usually offered mostly virtually now, some in person, that include the 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's, understanding Alzheimer's and dementias, and much more. Visit alz.org/CRF, Community Resource Finder, to find a program that's right for you. As the world's largest nonprofit funder of Alzheimer's disease research, we understand the enormous significance of this drug approval and also the need to continue to advance potential treatment avenues for diverse populations living in all stages of Alzheimer's and other dementias. We are hopeful that this is the beginning, both for this drug and for better treatments for Alzheimer's. Without the first approved treatment, there cannot be the second or third or fourth, each improving on the earlier treatments. This new drug approval and sustained progress in the research field is due in large part to years of investment, unrelenting dedication, and our vision of a world without Alzheimer's and all other dementias. So I'm going to stop screen sharing now. You can see the 800 number there, 800-272-3900, alz.org, and I guess we open it up for questions.
Thank you so much, Lisa. That was so incredibly helpful and comprehensive. Appreciate all the time and effort that you all put into putting together such a comprehensive PowerPoint presentation with great information. I would encourage you to write your questions in the chat. I think that's probably the easiest way for us to make sure that we're being mindful of the time. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat. While you're thinking of any questions or typing them out, I want to remind you that we have a second event coming up with the Alzheimer's Association on, of course, I should have had that readily available. It is the 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's. It's on Tuesday, February 15th from 11 a.m. to 12:30. And so in that session, you'll learn a little bit more about the common signs of the disease in yourself and maybe of others in your life, including, specifically what next steps to take and how to have a conversation with your doctor. I know I've mentioned this before, but I lost my mom in 2015 to this horrible disease. And I wish I had done more at the time as her caregiver to get support. You know, when you're in the trenches, you sort of feel like you're all alone. And she was only 74 when she died, and I think there was a lot of denial on the behalf of me and my siblings around what was actually happening. And my biggest piece of advice to others would be to get support from from the Alzheimer's Association and other community organizations. You know, you can always check out your local senior center, etc. Okay, there's a question here in the chat for you, Beth. But she asked, what, I don't know if you saw that, Beth, maybe I missed this, but what were the results of the clinical trial? Is there evidence that the Aduhelm works? Sorry.
So, Lisa, that's okay. So is there evidence that Aduhelm works? So what the clinical trial showed is that Aduhelm, for some people, did reduce amyloid plaques in the brain. That is what the clinical trial showed, right? Reasonably, it's possible that actually that would help people remember longer, right, and decline less quickly. But the only thing it truly showed is that for some people, Aduhelm reduced amyloid plaques in the brain, and that was the goal of the test. That was the goal of the clinical trial.
Great, thank you. I don't see any other questions coming in the chat.
There was another question that I answered in the chat, but I just, in case people didn't see that, it was about what kind of testing determines the evidence of amyloid plaque. Currently, the only FDA approved way to confirm amyloid plaque in the brain is through a brain amyloid PET scan. Right now, there is the spinal fluid test, but that is being reviewed now by the FDA. And there are blood tests that are in the experimental stage. That's all advancing rapidly. So we're hopeful that there will be many more ways that people can, get that workup done and find out about the amyloid plaques in the brain. And, have it be a blood test would be ideal because that's very easy to do. So that's our hope, is down the line we see that.
Thank you, Jennifer. So you addressed the question in the chat about the spinal fluid. Yeah, you did. Okay, sorry, I was thinking ahead for a minute. One thing I just wanted to mention, and certainly not to sound like a Pollyanna, but we had a conversation last Monday with a speaker who talked about sort of the science behind healthy aging and sort of the preventative things that we can all do. And so I would encourage you to go watch that. One of the things that he cited was the NUN study. You can just Google like NUN study Alzheimer's, and it gave me so much hope as someone who thinks I'm probably at risk for Alzheimer's, around the lifestyle things that we can all do. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here because most of you are senior college members and you're committed to lifelong learning, which is an important part of brain health and keeping our brains active so that we're exercising that muscle in order to stay healthy in that way. But I would encourage you to look that up because it's fascinating how, even though some of the nuns had the predetermined physicality to be likely that they would have Alzheimer's, they didn't, because of the community in which they lived and all the ways that they stayed active themselves. But I know that all of you know that for sure. There's another question here in the chat. Lisa says the cost of the treatment is beyond most people's ability to pay. How long will it take Medicare to make a decision about coverage? What are the holdups? Great question.
I'm laughing because there are so many holdups. I'm actually going to toss this to Jennifer, who might actually have a little more recent information than I do, because it's an ever-changing answer.
That it is, and I will put some links in the chat here if people are interested in getting more involved in pushing this forward. There has been a recent draft decision from the Center for Medicare Medicaid that they are basically saying that this would be covered only if people are enrolled in a clinical trial, and that would be it. And we feel like that's not enough. So right now they have like a comment type of thing open where we are doing a lot of work talking to our elected officials. We invite you to talk to your elected officials as well. And I will put some links that can tell you more about that and how to do that in the chat. But basically, they have this kind of comment type of thing open right now for people to voice their opinions. And, you know, if you're passionate about this, if you'd like to see it swing one way or the other, this is the time to make those comments. So basically, if this is finalized, Medicare will cover the class of FDA-approved drugs that target amyloid for the treatment of Alzheimer's only for individuals enrolled in qualifying clinical trials. With this restrictive approach proposed by CMS, access to treatment would be limited and only available to those with access to research institutions. This decision hurts those living with Alzheimer's and amplifies health inequities, especially for those who are already disproportionately impacted by this fatal disease. So I believe they keep the comments open for 30 days. And then I heard, I think it's in April that they're going to be making a final decision. So I want to say it's like April 11th. I'll have to look and I can put that in the chat as well. But yeah, so we're hoping to see this not get limited to just people that are in clinical trials, because it is currently an FDA approved drug. So we do hope it's accessible to all. There was a comment in the chat about the price of the medication. Lisa, I don't know if you want me to keep going or if you want to jump in.
Oh, because it's so expensive?
Yes.
If Medicare covers it, it'll probably drive up the premiums for everyone. I don't know if that's fair or not. I'm not going to comment on that part. It's already driven the premiums up. The 2022 premiums have gone up. And I think some of that was looking at the future of the cost of the drug. Now, the cost of that drug has dropped by half at this point. So and yes, Biogen did develop the drug. And so it's, as I said, it's kind of it's a fluid kind of situation at this point as to who can access this treatment, how you access this treatment, and what the cost will be. So it's something that the Alzheimer's Association is working on very hard to kind of make it available to people who really want it.
Lisa and Jen, there was another question tucked in there. It says from Lee, is there a way to diagnose the tau tangles?
I don't know that answer, Jennifer.
I think at this, I'm not entirely sure too. I know that they can look at brain scans to see that, but I think they rely more on that hallmark of the beta amyloid plaques to determine. Your best bet would be to call our helpline, and they can actually send you written material as to the tau and the beta amyloid and what that all means. And I'm putting in the chat right now, if you'd like to reach out to about this CMS decision, this draft decision, I'll put a link and you can click on that to do so.
Thank you. Okay, well, I don't see any further questions in the chat. Really, thank you so much, Jennifer, Lisa. Incredibly helpful update. As you know, we've been having these events now, I think for over a year or so. We usually have 2 events a semester in partnership with your organization, and we will continue to do that moving forward. If there's if folks want to take some time to look at, are your workshops posted on your on the website there, Jennifer? Because maybe,
Yes.
you know, it might be helpful if our members looked at the list of workshops, because I'm picking them just based on the conversations you and I are having sort of alone. But if you want to take a look at their website, the link is posted right here in the chat, actually, with all the workshops, and send me a note. And let me know if there's anyone in particular that you're interested in us hosting. We'd be happy to do that, and, you know, host those specific workshops that you all are interested in. Well, thank you, Lisa. Appreciate all your time today. Jennifer, thank you so much. It was great to see everyone. Again, keep learning, join senior college. That's a great way to keep your minds active. Keep socializing with the people that you meet in our program. And again, I'm here if you have any questions. You can always reach me by email. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.